to lay them out. So I'm going to have 1, 2, oh, let's see, I'm not going to have really enough space here, am I? Oh, I know what I could do. Let me take my pressing mat and then I can hold that, set that aside, can't I? So if I pop that in there, because I only need 3 rows, so let's just space these out. I need 3 rows of 5, so I will put that one there. Let's put that one, oh, I've got 2 of that, I don't want 2 of that. Let's put that one there, that one there. I'm just trying to space out some of the darker ones, and let's have a yellow, let's have an orange, and 4. Oh, I've got 2 oranges there, haven't I? So let's have a green. Let's see, perhaps, you see I'm being a bit fussy, aren't I? Let's put that one there, that one there, that one there. Perhaps we could put that one there. That's it. So that I've spread them out nice and evenly. So I have already, as you'll see, I've made a set already. So I have got 1. So you need to make 2 sets of these. Okay. So I like to make mine because it all joins together. The first thing I do is I place that one on top of there, that one on top of there, and that one on top of there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch down here, not cut my thread, then down the next one, not cut my thread, and then down the next one. So if I just pop those here and move my mat out of the way, let's just take this and pop it under the needle. And, oh, let's see, make sure we've got, I like to use a short stitch length of 2. So I've done the first one. Then I'm just lining up those edges along the right and stitch down the next one. And you know, it's surprising how quickly this actually comes together. And as I say, you do need to do 2, but it still turns out quickly. So having done that, I just gently finger press. I don't press it, but just to open it out. And then let's just bring my thing back in. And then I'm going to take the next one here and place that on the top. Then I'm going to take the middle one here and place that on the middle. And the bottom one just here. And I'm going to place that on the bottom. Now, as I would normally just pick it up as I need it. But as I've put all 3 out so that you can see them, I'm just going to put a pin. I will line them up properly. Just put a pin to hold them so they don't fall off. So then I'm just going to line that top one up, and we'll do exactly the same as we did just now. So don't cut the thread. Oh, my 1/4 inch wasn't that good there, but it will work. And similarly here. And cut the thread. So I didn't cut the thread in between, but I'm just opening those out. So I am going to, whoops, there they go. I'm just going to take my next one and pop it on there without showing you the layout, but you know, you can see exactly what I'm going to do. So there's the first one. The next one, right sides together from the middle row. Just line those up. Carry on stitching. And then the bottom one. Carry on stitching. There we go. And cut at the bottom. Now, this particular method is really good if you don't want your particular blocks to be the wrong way round, because you can check it as you go, and you might sometimes, when you go to add rows together, you might actually put the wrong row in the wrong place, and this way it's always in the right place. So my next one, right sides together, and down there, and then my last one here, Let's put the orange part next to it, line that up and stitch down. Okay, so now because they are all together, I've got them in the same order that I put them out, can you see? And they haven't moved and they won't move. So I am now, what I'm doing, I'm going to take it to the ironing board. I'm not going to go over to the ironing board, but I'm going to press the top row, the seams together, all in one direction. So I'm going to press straight across there, and the bottom row as well, press the same direction. But the middle row, I'm going to stitch in the opposite direction. So while I do that, I'm just going to put, excuse me, that one there, and you can see these going that way and these, and this one's going that way. So I'm sure you all know how to press your seams, but this way, when we come to nest our seams, when we stitch the rows together, they will line up beautifully. And although some people don't like to press, it is always good to press as you go. So that's quite swift. I've just done that now, so I can put that one out of the way, and there it is. So as you see, I've pressed those that way, press those the opposite way, and press those this way. So flip it over, and then all we're going to do is pick that row up down to there. And you know, I'm not even going to pin because I can feel. So I'm feeling that nesting there, one seam going one way and one the other, lining that raw edge, and I'm just going to stitch across here. Can't see there's any comments there. That's a brilliant way of sewing. So it is, isn't it? I love this way. I started it some while ago, and wherever I can, I do this. Because even though we're only squares, and actually it doesn't matter which way round or which orientation they are, when it comes to a point when it does matter, you'll still do this method anyway, because it comes naturally to you. You won't have to think, now, what's that other method? Let's just open that out, that we need to do. You'll just do it automatically. So I'm just coming to do the bottom seam, and we'll just line that up, and you saw how easily they nest together. And the same here. I'm just a little bit, so you can feel if it's not quite next to it. That's better. It just feels nice and flat, and what it means is your squares will all have perfect intersections, which is what we aim for all the time. But now and again, it doesn't quite happen. But this way, the majority of the time, you're going to get them absolutely perfect. There we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to press these rows. I'm just going to press them one way, and probably that way as well. So you could press them one way and one the other, but here you can see we've pressed them all in that one direction. Okay, so I'm just pressing these now, and once I've pressed the back where all the seams are, I also like to press the front as well, so that is beautifully flat. So there we are. I've got two of these, which is exactly what you want. 2 lots of 3 rows of 5 squares. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go, well, I've done these already, but these are our straps, and all I've done the normal way of making these, I'll do it with this little bit of fabric here. So you'll have a 4-inch width of fabric. We fold it in half, wrong sides together, and press. We open it out, and we do 1 raw edge to that center crease and press. We do the other raw edge to that center crease and press, and then fold it both in half, both together, and press. And then, as I've done here, you top stitch down both sides because it closes that opening where the fold is. And I've also stitched down the centre as well because I wanted to and because you can do whatever you like with it. So we need to make those two. And then the next thing we need though is this is a 13-inch square of denim, and we're going to work with this now. So let's just take this over to the cutting mat. Let's just walk over here. Okay, and pop that down. So what we need to do now, I've got my 13-inch square here, and all I'm going to do is fold it in half, doesn't matter which way. Okay, like so. Give that a little crease at the fold, and then at the fold, I'm going to use my scissors, and I am going to use a pen, and we are going to cut. Now I'm going to cut a 1.5-inch square. So I'm going to put my ruler on here. And as I say, the one I've done already, so that's 1.5 inches there. Okay, 1.5, and this is on the fold edge as well. So let's just mark my 1.5 there. And while I'm doing that, I may as well just cut that out. We're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Okay, so there's my 1.5-inch square, and then I'll just bring that around and just line that up so it's exactly folded in half. Give that a little finger press, and again, let's move that out of the way. We will do our 1.5-inch there and draw that 1.5, and we are going to cut that out. Make sure that's still lined up, and just cut out my little square. Whoops, get all that thread there. Okay, so then when we open it out, we have a piece that looks like that. With that, what I'm now going to do is get my patchwork pieces, and we are going to, hopefully that's just about right. We're going to pop that on there, right side down, and we are going to, so let me put my pin in there. We're going to stitch across that seam, and then at the opposite edge, I'm going to put the other one. So we're putting that right side down and lining that up. We'll put a pin just there and a pin just there. So I'm going to stitch across there and across there. So let me just see. Because if I go across to the machine, and I'll just show you the bag that we're making while I go back to the machine and stitch those seams. So there is the bag, and it's only just going to be one seam across here, and let's get cracking. Okay, so easy 1/4 inch seam allowance, and straight across that edge, aligning the raw edges at the side. So that's one side done already, and then we'll do exactly the same on the other side and line those edges. There we go, we're nearly over here. Okay, so while I am here, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to press where that patchwork, there we are. Right, so I'll bring that back here, and what we have done, I've stitched that seam and I've just pressed the seams to one side, and there we have. Okay, so there is our piece all in one. what we need to do now, we are going to get some wadding. Now, you can use fusible fleece if you want to. I've chosen thermolam to use on this occasion. So I've got myself a strip here. Let's take that pen out of the way. And so there's my strip of fabric. Here is my piece. And I'm just, hopefully, it's going to be the right width. 13 inches is the magic number. And I am just lining that up on the thermolam. Oh, that's a little bit short there, but that doesn't matter. There we go. So I'm just going to, I don't know if you can see this bit, I'm just going to trim this across there, like so. And then I'm just going to, I'm going to cut these bits out as well. So we want that little bit there. So we're basically cutting this exactly. So we're using our piece that we've popped together as a template and just cutting out those those little rectangles, which is going to make our boxed corners. Okay, now I like to use a bit of 505 spray. So just like we do a quilt, I'm putting the spray down onto the wadding. Let's just get that little bit out of the way there. And pulling it back. So I placed it down there first. But now I am just spraying onto my wadding. And then as we do, I'm just going to press it from the middle out to the sides. And I think that is perfect. Okay, so I'm going to take it back. No, I'm not going to take it back to the machine first of all. What I'm going to do now, so I have got to do a bit of stitching. Now, on the one I've done already, as you can see, I've done some cross hatching. I've gone through the diagonals of the squares, so I've quilted it, which you can do if you want to, or don't. I'm making this bag, Jane, that's here. Okay, so I'm not going to quilt this one, but if you'd like to, I am going to top stitch on the denim along here. But while we're over here, what I thought I would do is to take my lining fabric, because I need to use that piece as a template again. So I'm just going to cut along one edge to take my selvage off. And then I'm going to take my patchwork piece again, and I'm going to place it onto my fabric like so. And there we go. So just pull that out so that I've got my lining cut and ready to go in a moment. Okay, so you can get your lining fabric ready, and then like we did with the wadding, we can cut these pieces out. Let's just go there and in there. It's not good. Obviously, you would move around the table and so that you're cutting correctly. So I'm just doing, there we are. So that's got that roughly right. And trim that out as well. So I've got my lining ready for the next step. And, I haven't cut that off yet. Right, let's just trim this end off here. Like so. So there I have the whole of my thing just ready, the whole of my bag. So I'm going to take the lining fabric away first of all, because I do need to do that top stitching. So let's just take that back over to the machine, and we'll just wander back here and get you in shot of the machine. There we are. So the next thing, and I am going to increase my stitch length, is I'm going to top stitch on the denim across here. Okay, so I'll do 1/4 inch down here, and we can just top stitch across there. Now, the good thing, now I'm just going to take it to the other side here, and we'll top stitch across here. The good thing of quilting means that all of your wadding is held together and will look really, really nice. Now, actually, I think what I will do, I might just do a little bit. It is better to put your walking foot on here, but I'm just going to do a little bit. Now, rather than, I'm going to go up the centre of the squares. So let's start here. So roughly, and I'm just going to go up and down. And I'm going to cut that off there. I'll just have to trim these. So, but you can make yourself a lovely pattern of quilting if you want to. But this is just doing a makeshift bit of quilting to actually anchor your fabrics together. Okay, so I'm roughly up the middle. The other thing which would look lovely is a wavy line. Wavy lines are always good. Okay, so that's one side, and you can get away, if you're using Thermolam, you can get away with not having to use a walking foot, but it is always better to use a walking foot when you're doing any form of quilting. Okay, so there's one. Oh, decided that's not going to cut my thread there. Okay, that's what a seam ripper's for. Okay, so we'll just come down there, cut the thread, and so I've done minimal just for the sake of it. I could go across the horizontal, but just to save time, we'll leave it. And I'm sure the vast majority of you know exactly what you'll be doing here. Okay, so we've got that all done now. We've got our quilting done, which I wasn't going to do, but we've done that fine. So while I'm here, I am just going to, that's gone. Let me just trim off those. That's fine. And then here is bound to be, no, they've disappeared too. Okay, so we haven't got any loose threads. They've sunk into the wadding there. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to put our bag handles in place. Here's our bag handle. So it's easiest to put it on. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you go to the second one from each edge and center it, and we can put a pin there. So that's easy. And then just bring that around and put it on the center of the one here at the other side. So just make sure your handle isn't twisted. And I'm then going to stitch. So I don't have to have a pin in there. We can just stitch across there and move across, and we can stitch across the other one. Just make sure your stitching goes the whole way across so that it doesn't shift. So I've got those handles anchored at that side, and we'll do exactly the same on this side too. Or a little bit of thread there, which I never like those extra bits of thread. So we'll pop that in the center of the second square in, and again, just stitch across there to anchor, and then just make sure it doesn't twist, and pop that on the second square from the outside in the center for your other bag handle. Okay, so that one is ready as well. Right, now is the time to get our lining. So here is our lining fabric, and I'm going to place that right sides together onto this edge, this long edge here. So the handles are going to make it stick up just a little bit, but all we need to do is line up this edge, pin across there if you would like to. Let's just see the wadding shifted a little bit there. That's it. So I'm going to line that up here, and I'm going to stitch across this long edge at this end. Okay. So as you see, I haven't put any pins in, but I am just holding that, and I'm doing a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and going across those bag handles, making sure that all those, there we are. So I've just stitched across there. My bag handles are secure, and then I'm going to flip it round to the other side, and I know this is going to match, and I'm going to align this corner here so that all matches up, and put that under the needle. And then, as I say, I'm just holding it at the other side and just lining this edge 1/4 of an inch, making sure these are still lined up as well, the raw edges along the top, making sure the handles are firmly attached in there. Okay, so there I have all of my lining. What I'm going to do now is, if you lift up the lining so that you can fold it, and you're basically swiveling it round a bit so that your lining, whoops, that's not the easiest, so that your lining is on top of the lining, and your edges here, the cut out corners, they line up, as will where the patchwork and the lining come together, as will where the denim here comes together. So these are the important parts, making sure that your patchwork and denim, and this is where I will put a pin or two in. So we'll put a pin there because we want that to match, and also down here. We can put a pin at this top edge, so line up the patchwork and the lining. So we'll put a pin in there, and then this will line up down here, but I can swivel it round to the other side so that we can line up this denim here, and the raw edges, of course, along the side, and line that. And then this top edge again, where the patchwork meets the lining. So align those, and then this down this end will automatically align. So all we need to do now is to stitch along the lining and straight down the wadding with the main outer bag, and the same on the other side here. But we are going to leave a little gap in one of the lining edges. So I like to do that, first of all, so that I don't forget. And if I do forget, I have got the other side to fall back onto where I can leave my gap. So here I've just lined that bottom edge up, and I'm going to pop that under the needle. Whoops, what am I doing? Kicking my foot pedal. So let's just reverse a little bit there, and let's just line up those edges. I don't think, that may have been on the fold there. I didn't cut that very straight. There we are. That's better. So I am going to leave a fairly big gap. So I'm going to cut my thread there, shift the fabric along so that I've left my gap, and then just stitch backwards and forwards there. And now I'm coming up to the top of the bag, and just make sure that stays down, and take the pin out. Then I'm going to come down this side. And my edges are sticking out a little bit there, but that's fine. And I'm coming up to the pin where the denim meets. And then at the bottom here, make sure that denim meets there. And we can stitch down to the bottom there. So then all we're going to do is the same thing on the other side, but this side we're going to stitch the whole way along. So my denim edge corner is aligned and we're coming there. Let's just pull this. I think my outer fabric shifted a bit from the wadding, so I am just catching that in, but it's the wadding that shifted and everything will be hopefully caught up. So then we're coming across there, and then again let's just, oh, I've left my gap there, haven't I? So just line those lining edges up and carry on stitching all the way down, and then this should line up at the bottom where that cutout corner is. Okay, we're getting on very, very well. Could you use faux leather? Yes, absolutely, Jane. Faux leather, cork, whatever you like. I have got some cork left, actually. I think it's got a silver grain in it. Could have used that, couldn't I? But I haven't used a bit of denim for a long time. So there is my cutout corner. I put my finger in it and flatten. If you splay it out and flatten, and then line those edges up, and all we're going to do is pop that under the machine. So reverse at the beginning, reverse at the end, because we want that to be very secure. Then we've got our other side here, nice cutout corner, and we're going to put our finger in there, open it out and flatten. Now sometimes these don't line up particularly well, but if you just flatten it down and get it as central as you can, and then as long as your seam includes all of the fabric, you're really not going to notice that that is not particularly even. We've got our seam there, and that's all that matters. So down at the other end, cut out corner again, open it out, pull that down, and for some reason I'm going to squash that down and just open that. These ones seem to just go together that little bit more easily, and a bit more forgiving if it's not quite the same. But as I said, if you remember, the first bag I've made, I did 2-inch cutout corners. Let's just trim that a little bit. Whereas this one, I've done 1.5 inch, so it's not going to be quite as wide. Another cutout corner, pull it open, like so, and flatten. And if you want to put clips on there or pins, by all means do. But you know what me and pins are like? I guess there would be blood. Okay, so we're just going across there. Without pins, what you could always do is just check the other side, just make sure it's stitched the whole way across. And if you want to trim that off so it looks a bit neater, all well and good. Okay, so we have nearly finished it. So I'm looking for the gap in my seam, so I can put my hand in there. I can pull this, I'm grabbing hold of the base and I'm just pulling that through, and here it comes. Okay, so it's quite nice to leave a decent sized gap because it just makes life so much easier when you're actually turning it through, rather than being a struggle. Okay, so while I've got my hole in, or my gap in the lining, I'm just poking my fingers into these corners of the denim, make sure that's all stitched. Lovely. And I think it would be nice to have quilted on here as well. So I know that's fine. Let's just check our lining boxed corners as well. That one's fine, and that one's fine, and all I need to do now is close this gap. So where this is all stitched, the seam is stitched here and here. What I do for ease, I'm sorry they don't line up. I get that and I just roll it so it's on the edge. And then I tuck my fingers into where the gap is and roll my nails along that edge just to turn that in. And then you can do the same on the other side. Just run your nail along that seam for about a 1/4 of an inch. And then you can, when you've just nail pressed it, or you can go to the iron and press it properly, that just pulls together nicely. And as I say, forgive that my check does not align. There we go. But it's the inside of the bag, and it's not particularly a reversible bag. So as I said, it's confession time. Just tuck that in, and we can put a pin there. Whoops, pin there as well. And then I'm just going to stitch along there. So let's just flip that over, and I stitch right on the very edge, because that way you know your seam is caught. So we'll start there, and I should have used navy thread, but hey ho, the checks don't match. So if it's got a bit of cream thread on there, it will detract from the fact that my seams, these stripes, this plaid doesn't line up. That's decided not to cut. Okay, so let's just trim those little bits of thread. That has gone from the other side. And now all I need to do, gosh, we have done well, is tuck the lining into the bag, push my fingers down into those corners so it pulls the lining down, and similarly on this other side. Now, if you wanted to leave, that is actually quite good. I'm just putting my hands in there. That top edging, I actually don't mind. I think that's quite nice. So you could leave the edge of your, it adds to it, doesn't it? Or you can push that right in so that your top edge is purely the patchwork. But do you know, on this occasion, I like it like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some clips, because I want to make sure that lining is pushed down. So I'm just going to put clips around this top edge, and it's the top of the wadding that actually holds to give a really even band around the top edge. So let's just pop those here. And what I will do though is, I'm going to do 2 rows of stitching so that it holds down. Let's just pop one just there, so that it holds down my, I shall lift the handles and top stitch over the handles so they're going upwards. So let me just take my extension table away, and there we go. Let's bring this back in, and I'll start. It's best not to start in the centre, but I don't think you're going to notice it. So I'm not going to stitch in the ditch. I'm going to go just onto my patchwork fabric. So, and that way, I'm also going to do a larger stitch, say 3.5. So you'll be able to see that. And what am I? That's it. So I'm going to leave my handle down for the moment. There we are. And I'm just going to stitch, but just onto my patchwork, as I say, and take my clips off as I go, so that there's only going to be, it's going to look as though there's one, actually I could have turned, no, we'll leave that down. And so it looks as though there's only 1 row of stitching around the top edge of the lining fabric, which is standing out. Okay, so basically I like to do impromptu things. I like to change things around, and I like to see it when you've changed things around as well. So if you wanted to put a pocket, let's just trim the pocket inside, or even an internal zip pocket, absolutely do. I leave all of that to your imagination. So I'm just going to pop that down, and I'm going to stitch across the handle like that. And then I'm going to get the next one ready as well. But I'm just going to stitch around the top edge of the lining. Okay, so we are going across, or it'll be 8 layers of denim there, but it will make the, oh, look at that. Can you believe it? Can you absolutely believe it? I do random placing, and I just happen to get 2 pieces together. Never mind. How lucky is that, or unlucky, as the case may be. Right, so I've just lifted my handle there. Whoops. And now that has just, I felt that it's just slipped off. There we are. Just make sure it's staying on the top edge of the lining. The other did, but I could just feel that had slipped off. So again, we're going along that top edge. Just prepare this, just flatten it down. And straight over there. That's it. And we're coming back round to the other side, and we will be just on the handle again, because I started very stupidly. That's it. Let's just pull that back, because we can go across there again. Half of it will have a double edge. There we are. So that is nice and secure. Okay. So on the reverse, we can just trim those threads away there, and trim that thread just there where we finished the other one. And there is our bag finished. Just like that. Just like that. Okay. Let's see. Oh, never mind. You'll be able to see, Margaret, what I'm sewing now. So I'm going to come back up and just twiddle us round so you can see. Oh, you'll be able to see that spider up there. Let's come this way. There we are. Back again. Okay, so what we were doing, let's come down just a little bit. So that is what we have made tonight. Okay, from your scraps of fabric, nice and easy. Look at this. How could I possibly, oh, there's a bit of thread there, never mind, we'll trim that off. How could I possibly have got those two to join up? But that's a nice seam. That's a nice seam. And I've just used the scraps I had left over from the mystery quilt. So, as I say, this one is, I'm going to trim that thread off because I don't like it. There we are, that's gone. So this one has got 1.5 inch cutout squares, whereas this one that I made earlier has got 2-inch cutout squares. Don't know, it looks too much difference, but there is a difference. So this one is wider, and you'd probably also notice just marginally the one I've just made is slightly taller, and that's because it is less wide than the other one. Okay, so it is, the idea was basically scraps. The idea is use up the fabric you have and chop it into squares. And this is the thing, if you can't think of what you want to make, it's one of those days where you want to do something or you've got some little bits hanging about, cut them into a certain size square and put all those squares together for another time. And this is where the squares, as I said, I did trim mine down so that they were 3-inch, but it saves wasting the fabric. And what I could do, when I get my mystery quilt finished, I can have the bag by the side of the bed to put tissues in, or, you know, collect dirty underwear, if you like, anything, but it will match my mystery quilt. So they are nice and easy, but sometimes we love something that's easy because we can just get on and do it, can't we? And the method of construction, is slightly different. We don't always work with one piece that is folded. Quite often, you see, we haven't got a seam at the bottom there, and quite often the bags I do have got a seam at the bottom. I don't know whether tomorrow's will. I don't know yet what way we're doing that. But that's as easy as it comes, isn't it? And as I say, for those of you who are in the Sew with Trisha group, I'm going to pop the PDF in before I have my dinner this evening. Okay, so I will just say, for those of you who perhaps you might be just starting out with your patchwork journey or sewing. So what I have got, and it's on the website, I have got large scrap boxes like this, and the big one here is £25 free postage, and you can see some of those that are in there. Oh yeah, do it with mini charms, so it will either do more mini charms in the row, or you can do more rows, or make it as it is, 3 rows of 5, and have your bag a little bit smaller. And so this is the smaller box at 15, and as you can see, it's just full of. Some of the smaller ones will have smaller pieces as well, or strips, but this one just happens to have a lot of other pieces, and they're quite a decent size. Oh, I dropped a bit out there. That's double that piece. So, oh, you've got all sorts in there. Look, all moda and all sorts. So let's pop that out of the way. We'll pop that bit of fabric. You see, look at this piece. This looks to me like a long quarter. So that's a scrap box, and that's in a small scrap box. So they are, as I say, on the website, and the PDF will be in the group very, very shortly. And thank you, Beverly. So all I can say now is thank you for your company. It has been lovely. You certainly revived me for the rest of the evening. And what were the panels at the start? Oh, the panels. Yes, I forgot to. What have I done with those? They're on the website. They're called Colour Wheel. Whoops, here we go. Colour Wheel. And the panel here. So here are the panels. You get 4 in the width of fabric. They're just, you can add so many colours to them. That's why I liked it. Tomorrow I'm just using black because it's going to be the feature for me, this. And thank you, Pauline. Yes, so these panels with 4 are £4.50. It is about 12 inches wide, I think. So it's about 1/3 of a metre. And I'm going to be doing something with this then. But these are on the website if you search Colour Wheel, and it will be in the fabric section for £4.50. Okay. So, as I say, thank you for joining me tonight. If you would like to share this video amongst your friends, by all means do. It will be on the So Totally Trisha page very shortly, but I shall also pop it on YouTube without the first little bit. I tend to edit it a little bit so you don't have all my chatting, but on the other hand, I might leave it on, you never know. So hopefully I'll see you tomorrow evening with a project in that fabric, that Colour Wheel fabric, and it's just going to be fun again. So take care of yourselves, enjoy the rest of your evening, have a great day tomorrow, and I'll see you at 6:30 here on the So Totally Trisha page. Bye for now.